Good morning and welcome to Unity of Walnut Creek. Please rise and join us in singing We Are One in the Spirit.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Starlight, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your musical ministry with us this morning, bringing our hearts more open to the goodness that is our universe and that is within us. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. If you please help me welcome our brothers and sisters online. So if you please turn to the camera and wave. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you and we hold you in our light. Please know that you are a precious part of our spiritual community. So thank you for being present with us. And speaking of being present, if you would check your cell phones so we can all be present here. I know we have really cool ringtones. I have a really cool ringtone by Eric Clapton, but I'm not going to let it go. So thank you for that. And our minister, Reverend Kristen Powell, will be our speaker this morning. And so this is my favorite part of it, because unity is a positive path for spiritual living. Amen? Hey, women? Yo, bro? All right. And here at Unity of Walnut Creek, our mission is, in loving community, we empower spiritual growth by modeling and teaching universal principles. That is a universal truth. So I invite you to join me in affirming these principles with our statement of faith. And so just kind of relax. And we're going to take a deep breath. And then we're going to, on the exhale, we're going to say thank you. And then we'll move into our statement of faith. Okay? So just take a deep breath. And let that go right into your heart. And then release and say thank you. Yeah. And then our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. And let's soak that in. And let's repeat that just once more. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. And so it is. And you, if you are with us here at Unity of Walnut Creek for the first time and are comfortable in doing so, we invite you to raise your hand now so we may bring you a welcome packet. There is a connection card in your packet. So please take it to our bookstore for an additional welcome gift of a wooden necklace handmade by one of our congregants. Great. So thank you for being with us this morning. We appreciate it very, very much. And for you old-timers, there are connection cards in the seat pocket in front of you. With these connection cards, you may submit a prayer request or a comment, and our prayer chaplains will pray with you throughout the week. You may also share feedbacks on these cards, and if you request information, our staff will respond to you during office hours. The ushers will receive these cards with the offering. And so it is one of our special times here at Unity where we get to greet each other. So please stand and hug your neighbor if they wish to be hugged. What's up, brother? How are you?
Good.
Richard. Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Hi. How goes it? Good.
Good.
To see you.
Good to see you.
Good morning. I'm Ron. Hi, Mary. Nice to meet you. I'm sorry? Tony. Hi, I'm Ron. What's up?
Part of
Well, today is a, oh, excuse me.
That's okay. I'm just going by the script. Hello, my name's Ted. And I have the pleasure of reading some announcements that are found in your bulletin today. So don't miss our full moon ceremony this Wednesday night at 7 p.m. when our sanctuary will be filled with love. The celebration includes more than 25 crystal singing bowls and a beautiful dance and many of our favorite songs about the moon. Danae will be out on the patio after our service to sign up for an upcoming play date. So join us for a Super Bowl party in February or a bingo in March. These are some fun, super fun ways to meet people at Unity here. Continuing with our fun is our crab feed. Yay. The tickets are going to be on sale in the patio today. And on Thursday, join us for an interfaith harmony service on February 8th. Don't miss this opportunity to harmonize with the people from other faith traditions and draw inspiration from our shared love of spirit. And next Sunday's Radical Healing Workshop, Beyond Bags, that has been postponed. So we'll let you know when a new date is determined. So please take a close look at today's bulletin for all the details on these activities. And now, Reverend, you may have the podium.
See, this is how we initiate. This is Ted's first day of doing the announcements, so we just throw a little wrench in the plan. I'd like to invite forward our 2018 Board of Trustees. And there's a lot of us, aren't there? And actually, one's missing. Sandy Foreman is our board secretary, and unfortunately, we try our best to get everybody here on the same Sunday, but sometimes we just can't find one. So she's not here with us, but she's definitely here with us in spirit. And she has served as our board secretary, and so we are grateful that she's continuing on the board and in that role. So this is your beautiful board. They are beautiful inside and out, full of wisdom. Yeah. And so I'm going to ask each of our board members to come forward to light their candle that symbolizes what they're bringing individually, light their candle from the Christ candle, and to share with you their key gift that they're bringing, in particular this year, to our board and to our community.
As President of the Board of Trustees. I, Lisa Nichols, as President of the Board of Trustees of Unity of Walnut Creek, bring the gift of authenticity.
I'm just going to use my mom voice. I, Diana Messitz, as Vice President of the Board of the Washington. I, Diana Messitz, as Vice President of the Board of Trustees for Unity of Walnut Creek, give my gift of service.
And I'll invite everybody to come to the microphone so our friends online will be able to hear in full volume as well.
I, Tricia Linden, as Treasurer of the Board of Trustees, bring to the community integrity.
I, Susan Angelos, as a member at large of the Board of Trustees of Unity of Walnut Creek, bring my gift of passion.
I, Scott Babcock, as a member of the Board of Trustees, a member at large, bring my gift of compassion.
I, Bobby Bader, as a member at large of the University of Unity, it feels like a learning experience, of the Board of Trustees at Unity Walnut Creek, bring the gift of gratitude and generosity of spirit.
I'm Dimitri, and as a member of the Board of Trustees, I bring fun and joy. Whippy!
I, Chris Gomes, as a member of large of the Board of Trustees, bring the gift of peace.
And I am also a member of the Board of Trustees, and I bring the gift of presence. I also want to mention that Linda Stevens has been a part of our board and for personal reasons needed to step down, and so the board selected Chris Gomes to take her place. So we thank you, Chris, for joining us. And I know Sandy always says that her gift, and I've seen it in action, is spiritual maturity, so that is with us as well. So you see before you all these lights that represent the wisdom that this Board of Trustees carries. We take it seriously that you have entrusted this board with the governance of and the leadership of our organization. And so I want to ask the board, so that you can hear some of their commitment, to say "I am" at the end of these statements if you are in agreement. Are you promising to serve the best interests of Unity of Walnut Creek from the highest and best part of you, the spirit within? Not done yet. There's quite a bit more. But I appreciate the enthusiasm and the passion. Will you put your own spiritual development first in order to serve with clarity and with wisdom? Are you promising to act as a team player with members of this board and as an inclusive community member by listening and showing respect for diverse expressions of God? Are you promising to seek spiritual guidance first and then to speak and act with honesty and integrity? Are you promising to lead us by upholding the prosperity consciousness of our spiritual community? If you agree to all of these, please say, "I am." I am. And let's speak our affirmation together. We, the Board of Trustees of Unity of Walnut Creek, are dedicated to empowering spiritual growth and rendering genuine service in our community. And I also want to ask all of you as the congregation if you too will commit to something. You see before you, again, these lights, this wisdom that is represented, and you've heard the commitment that they've made. So I ask you now, are you committed to supporting and nurturing our Board of Trustees so that their experience as a key part of our leadership team is empowering and joyful for them and of the highest value to our ministry? If so, please say, "I am." I am. So I install you and me, all of us, as officially the Board of Trustees in loving service to Unity of Walnut Creek. I know God expresses abundantly through our wisdom and through our love. Let's acknowledge our Board of Trustees. So we invite you to prepare for a time of meditation by just simply settling in, maybe removing anything from your lap that distracts you, and to take in some music as we prepare for for silent communion.
I am opening for the love to flow. I am opening to become a glow. I am opening. Yes, I know I am here to bring the light. I am opening for the love to flow. I am opening to become a glow. I am opening. Yes, I know I am here to bring the light. I am here to bring the light.
And so let us open now to the fullness and the truth of who we are, to the spirit of our being. With every breath, letting go, shedding whatever has come before this moment in time. We come, spirit, renewed, open, fresh, receptive. Allowing whatever is true to emerge. Tapping the love of spirit, the light that we are. Open and receptive to the messages or to the simple silent communion with that highest truth, the deepest knowing of ourselves as divine. We are the individual lights that make up the whole light. And that light will never be as bright without our own light. So as we take a moment to scan the world, the corners of the world where there is darkness, we know that right now, even from this seat, we are spreading the light of the truth of who we are. Fully grounded, connected with the Spirit, remembering who we are. It is easy from this place to send pure blessings of love and light. So wherever you are today, maybe in a more receptive place where you want to just simply be, and you enter this silent time to receive. And if you are in a more active place today where you want to be sending forth blessings, and I encourage you to do that during this silent time, sending your light and your love all across this world, illuminating the pockets and the places that need that light. whatever is ours to do is experienced now in the being, in the truth, in the spirit, in the silence. I have opened and received, and continue to keep my heart open, my mind open, to receive the truth of who I am, to remember who I am, to speak the truth and act the truth and move with the truth and shine my light wherever I go. And so it is.
I am opening for the love to flow. I am opening to become a glow. I am opening. Yes, I know I am here to bring the light. I am here to bring the light.
The words I have to say may well be simple, but they're true. Until you give your love, there's nothing more that we can do. Love is the opening door. Love is what we came here for. No one could offer you more. Do you know what I mean? Have your eyes really seen? You say it's very hard to leave behind the life we knew. But there's no other way, and now it's really up to you. Love is the key we must turn. Truth is the flame we must burn. Freedom, the lesson we must learn. Do you know what I mean? Have your eyes really seen? Love is the key we must turn. Truth is the flame we must burn. Freedom, the lesson we must learn. Do you know what I mean? Have your eyes really seen? Do you know what I mean? Have your eyes really seen?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really beautiful. So on Tuesday, do you know what begins on Tuesday? The season for nonviolence. Very good. Did you catch wind of that at 9 o'clock, or do you just know? I didn't think you were. Yeah. So the season for nonviolence is a 64-day period, starts January 30th and ends April 4th. And what it is a season to really bring forth nonviolent ways of being and seeing and doing and communicating. And it's marked on January 30th and April 4th by the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi and the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., two people who really brought forth the nonviolence idea and the movements that went with them. And so, interestingly, it was actually started by the grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Arun Gandhi, and the Association for Global New Thought, of which Unity is a part. So isn't that cool? That New Thought was actually behind this, along in partnership with Gandhi's grandson. I love that connection. So it's very timely that we're doing the work that we're doing in the series and the class that we're doing around sovereign belonging, Dr. Brenè Brown's recent book, Braving the Wilderness, because this work is very much about this way of being in the world. Ahimsa, as Gandhi would say, the soul force, satyagraha. This idea that we bring forth the power of nonviolence, of peace, as a way of, in the face of everything, violence and everything else that's going on in the world, to be able to stand really in our divine selves and know that power. So that's a big part of the walk, and that chapter for this week happens to be people are hard to hate close up. Move in. Isn't it true, though? When we get to know one another, when we learn about people's stories, when we get a little sense of their background, suddenly we come with a different kind of opening, right? A more open mind, a more open heart, a kind of tell me more attitude. And that's really what we're up to, is moving toward that. So this week is really about that second principle of unity, this idea that we are innately divine, that we come in not by original sin, we don't buy into that, but by original virtue. If we are truly made in the image and likeness of God, there's nothing to clean up, right? We come in that place of purity. We know this when we look at a child, right? A baby that's just been born, that otherworldly, pure love kind of sense that we have. It's like, yeah, that's who I am. That's where I came from. So this innate divinity, this second principle in unity, is about recognizing that all people are divine, including ourselves. Let's not leave out ourselves, right? That all people are born of original virtue, and that it is our work, our practice, to see and behold that divinity in ourselves and in each other. That's really what we're about. So speaking of Gandhi, he has actually something to say about the face of God in this practice. He says, if you don't find God in the next person you meet, it's a waste of time looking any further. So you can take that two ways, right? One way is your work is to find it wherever you are, with whomever you're interacting, as difficult as that person may seem for you. Another way of looking at it is, oh no, if you can't find it in one person, it's probably nowhere to be found. Hopefully we're not going to take that tact. But what we will take is that it's serious work, it's practice. This is where the rubber hits the road when we're working, particularly this principle, because this one can challenge us in ways, and it seems to be challenging us in many ways in our world that we find sometimes insurmountable. But it isn't insurmountable. That's the good news. It's a high bar, our second unity principle. It's a high bar, this idea of divinity, right? And part of what comes with that bar when we look out into the social experience of the world, the collective humanity of the world, we can think of it as human dignity, you know? And raising up the dignity to that place of divinity. You know, we come in wired, understanding that we care for each other. We come in wired biologically as well as spiritually, that we are a species that there's an instinct to survive, to take care of the tribe. We don't want anybody from the tribe to disappear, right? But as I think part of what's happened is as we have grown and grown and grown, now billions of us on this planet, the work has gotten a little harder, hasn't it? The wiring impulse to take care of one another seems to be getting a little cross-wired, if you will. And so to go back to that initial impulse, that wiring, that we have compassion for all, that all are included in our moral ways of being. You know, we're wired to be kind. We're wired to be compassionate. We come in with this original virtue. It's who we are in truth. Everything we see that is something other than that is what we have forgotten, where we have gotten amnesia about who we are, not only as a divine being, but also as a human being, right? Just that basic dignity of humanity. So what has happened? How is it that we've gotten into the situations that we've gotten into? It's been studied, and there's actually a dehumanizing process that we go through that sort of reprograms us in a way. And why do we even do that? Well, when we are in pain, right, when there is hurt, when there is anger, it can come out or be projected out because it's too hard for us to deal with it or we don't have the skills to deal with it. It can be projected out in hatred, right? And then what can happen is people will start to find others who are projecting out their hatred. And then a group gets identified. And so how is it that we could possibly exclude someone from this moral circle that we are wired to have for compassion and caring for all is because this pain gets projected out, and then when it gets projected out in groups and it gets projected to a group, we begin a process. It starts with words, and we start to name that group differently. We name them in ways that are subhuman, in ways that are disparaging. Then we start to attach images to that, and movements get born. Hatred movements get born out of this process. And so pretty soon we have drawn a line that says we are people who are compassionate and caring and kind, and we take care of one another, and we are morally included except, and we've got a group outside the circle. And this is how people justify in their minds the crazy things we can't imagine that get justified. The atrocities of torture, the atrocities of slavery, the atrocities of genocide. We say to ourselves, how could we ever go there? What went wrong? How did the wires get so crossed? This is how. Brene Brown brings us to a place where the rivers, the source of the river helps us. She says, how much longer are we willing to keep pulling drowning people out of the river one by one, rather than walking to the headwaters of the river to find the source of the pain? Sorry, I threw off our slide, people, because I went somewhere else. Sorry, John. We'll go back to that one. So how much longer are we going to do that, you know? We'll come revisit this idea of going to the headwaters of the pain. But let's look at that slide that you had up, John, for a minute. Because Brene Brown, our author, is also telling us about finding that face of God. She says, if our faith asks us to find the face of God in everyone we meet, that should include the politicians, the media, and the strangers with whom we most violently disagree. Because when we desecrate their divinity, we desecrate our own, and we betray our faith. So if we're really walking the line of this divinity, if we're really upholding this principle, if we're really bringing that dignity up to divinity, then we won't desecrate anybody's dignity or divinity, right? Or betray our faith. I mean, they're strong words, but we need strong words for a strong time. You know, we need to really be kind of awakened, have that fire lit underneath us that says, wow, I'm betraying my own faith. I'm desecrating the divinity of another person by allowing that hatred to be inside of me too, and to begin to project it out on this otherizing. So we too will find places within ourselves, even if we're walking a really earnest spiritual walk, where we are showing up that way too. Not to the maybe degree of the kinds of atrocities we just talked about, but somewhere in that gray area we can find ourselves, right? At times. So the problem is that we are in some ways lowering our standards collectively and don't really recognize it, right? Anne Lamont, she's a humorous writer, one of her friends said that she was on a path to her own self-destruction, and by the end she said, I was deteriorating faster than I could lower my standards. And we can kind of relate, right? Sometimes it feels that way. And sometimes when we cast our eyes upon what's going on in the world, it feels like as humanity, as a human family, sometimes feels like we're deteriorating faster than we can lower our standards. Do you ever feel that way? Yeah. The bar of dignity seems to get lower. And when we do that over and over again, and we continue to cross that line that says this is human dignity, it's the line that's not supposed to ever be crossed, and we keep crossing it, it becomes normal. And our new normal becomes a very low standard, maybe even to the point where there is no line anymore. We can't let that happen, can we? We won't let that happen. As people who are spiritually awakening, we won't let that happen. We can't let that happen. Because in our presence there is a light and a love and a compassion and an understanding and a constant work that's going on inside of us, right? We're constantly on that edge of evolving. And so even when we fall down, even when we forget, even when we recede into some of these ways of being that we'd rather not be, know that whatever those ill intentions that were around us that caused the spite or whatever it was that caused us to react in such a way is just calling us up higher. It's reminding us again and again of who we are. When we see who we are not, and we feel that, I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I felt that. I can't believe I'm thinking that I'm spreading that negativity, you know? That I'm lowering, that I'm being a part of, that I'm joining the group who is lowering the standards, forgetting who we are. And so that's when we say, no, I won't. I see the lines of human dignity, and I raise them up to divinity. Because that's the truth of who we are, and that's the truth of our path. That's what we're all about. So when Brenè Brown talks about this idea of pulling ourselves, you know, don't stand there. How long are we going to pull the drowning people out of the river, you know, before we finally realize, we need to walk to the headwaters of the pain, because that's what's underneath it, right? These people who do these crazy mass shootings, you know, they often report being lonely, being loners, right? And so you can imagine there's a lot of pain and a lot of sense of not belonging, and then getting online and finding communities where they feel like, oh, I could join this group, because that sounds like it's really empowering. And really what they're not realizing is that sounds like a group where I can project out all this hatred and anger, you know? So what do? We go to those headwaters. We go to those places. We defy the hatred. We let our best spiritual selves rise up. Jesus puts the high bar out there. He says, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. That's where we're really aspiring, right? To really be that energy in the world, where we can be in the face of that kind of persecution or that kind of otherizing or on the defense, and we can switch just like that into, I love you. I pray for you. I bless you. Now, we don't always get there, do we? So we can say, I won't give you my hate. I won't allow you that. Booker T. Washington said, I will let no man belittle my soul by making him hate me. By making me hate him, excuse me. I will let no man belittle my soul by making me hate him. I won't give somebody my hate because it belittles who I am. It takes me off course. It knocks me off the spiritual journey. It reels me back in my awakening, or so it feels, right? I won't allow it. I won't let somebody belittle my soul in such a way. Antoine Leary was a person who lost his wife during a terrorist attack in Paris, where 88 people died in a theater. And 2 days after the attack, he wrote an open letter to the terrorists. And he said this: you stole the life of an exceptional person, the love of my life, the mother of my child, but you will not have my hate. I will not respond in anger. You want me to be scared to see my fellow citizens suspiciously? You have failed. You will not have my hate, and neither will you have the hate of my child. He had a 17-month-old son. Neither will you have his hate. In fact, he will defy your hate every day of his life, that he lives happy and free. That's the kind of message and the strength. 2 days after that happened, he could stand in that place and say, my soul will not be belittled. I will not hate. I will not go there. I will walk the path of nonviolence. I said path, but I said pact. And it is a pact, isn't it? It's a pact that we make when we say and awaken to the fact that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. When we awaken to that truth and we realize who we are and we recognize the humility of what God has given us, the gift that God has given us of consciousness, of awakening, of the light and the love and the truth that we are, then there is nothing that can allow us to get off track. Maybe for a minute, but then we stand up and on the big shoulders of people like Booker T. Washington and say, my soul will not be belittled. Or we stand on the shoulders of this man, Antoine Larry, and we say, man, I see your pain. And I see that in your pain, 2 days later, the love of your life gone, your little 17-month-old son, and you can stand there and say, you will not have my hate. I will not lower the bar. I will not lower the standards. I will not erase the line of human dignity. I will not be one to participate in that process. That's the no. And then there's a yes, right? Sometimes we forget, sometimes we fail, right? Sometimes we're in a place where we go to those places of anger, angry response or projection, or even feelings of hatred or enemy. Maybe we even participate in some of this creating a common enemy thing. You know, certainly seems alive and well in our political dialogues lately. And so if we find ourselves in those places, then we can go back to this place where we go to the headwaters of the pain, right? And we invite each other. Let's walk together to the headwaters of the pain that Brene Brown is suggesting we go to. And what do we find there? Well, we'll find the pain that's underneath all this stuff, right? We'll find a place of healing, but guess what we also find there? The source. At the headwaters, we find the source, the purest water, the purest healing energy, the purest love, the purest truth. It's odd that we do all these things to avoid the pain and the underlying stuff, and we create all this darkness in the world. And yet, if we just walk together to the source of the pain, we could heal and see what's the truth of what's there. Recently, I literally went to the headwaters of the Sacramento River near Mount Shasta. And there, it was so beautiful. It was a city park, Mount Shasta City Park. And there were small pockets of people, but it was a very diverse gathering of people. And it's just an open park. You can go anytime, bring a bottle of water and fill it with the headwaters, the source of the Sacramento River, said to be pure and healing water, good to drink right there out of the river. How often do we get to do that without a filter and all kinds of craziness that we need to do? And to be there, there was a man who was doing some ceremony there. I mean, people were just there on their own time. There was nothing planned, you know. There was a man with a gentle pit bull sitting with him. There were indigenous people from the local tribe. And in and out, there were different people. As we walked around the park and came back, we noticed different people. There was racial diversity and age diversity. And everybody had just come there to the headwaters of the Sacramento River, right there in the city park, to get some pure water. But the energy was so clear and so clean. There was such a beautiful energy there. And that's what we find when we go to the headwaters of pain. Yeah, it may be painful at first and hard to look at. Wasn't the case here. We went right into the source. And so that's what we find when we go there. That's the truth. That's what we're all going with our little vessels to collect, right? A piece of God. a sense of this love and this purity and this clean, clear energy that we want to carry with us, and we want to drink, and we want to use for ceremony, and we want to spread. It's all a metaphor for what we do when we are courageous enough to go to the headwaters of the pain of humanity, of ourselves, and take a look. It's never as bad as we think it's going to be. It's never nearly as bad as what we create by lowering our standards and erasing these lines of dignity and forgetting our divinity. So why go through all that when we can just go right to the source, right? So the collective and the personal journey today, seems to me, maybe more than ever in my lifetime, at least to my awareness, is really interwoven. That's why we keep talking about these issues, because they're top of our minds, bottom of our hearts, you know? Because it's what we're carrying. And there's pain in that, there's grief in that, it's present for us. And so our personal journey, all the work you've done, you're ready, you know? Every prayer you've said, every time you've sat meditation, every book you've read, every workshop you've been to, every class you've been to, all the therapy maybe you've done, or other work, personal work that you've done, every heartbreak, every breakdown, every breakthrough, every aha, every insight, you're ready. You know what I'm saying? You feel it? Enough already. We're ready. We're ready. Count me in, God. I'm ready. Yeah. So wash away any ideas that you've got to go do the A, B, and C before you're ready. Because this is it. Game's on. Rubber hits the road. It's happening, you know? The world is happening around us. And some days it feels like the sky is falling, but we have the power to raise it up. And that's what our work is. So don't tell yourself, I'm not ready. You are so ready. You know, it's like an athlete who prepares for a competition and the day of the game comes. It's like, well, I'm as ready as I'm going to be, right? And that's the truth of where we are and who we are. These things would not be happening in the world if it wasn't a call to spiritual awakening. You know, so this is the good news. The good news is we are being shaken awoke. The good news is whatever it is that's getting under your skin is actually an opportunity for the light to come out and the love to come out and the truth to be known. Martin Luther King said, an individual has not started living until he can rise above, or she can rise above, the narrow confines of his or her individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of humanity. We can't walk the path alone anymore, or just in our little bunkers of comfort. We can't do it anymore. It's not the world we live in anymore. And like it or not, it's what we signed up for in our lifetime, or we wouldn't be here at this time. At some point, at some time, I believe, we made some kind of agreement that this would be the span of life that we would be here for. And so we can choose every moment of every day how we show up. And every moment we fall short, we can pick ourselves back up. But don't allow yourself to get, I want to say, spiritually lazy, if that's okay. You know, don't allow yourself to fall in to get sucked into that life-sucking, to that spirit, soul-sucking kind of way of thinking and being, an us and them kind of way of being. It won't serve anyone, including you. As quick as you can be awakened to it, move, raise it up, allow the truth to come forward for you. Our social fabric must be rewoven with spiritual thread. You know, and we are the weavers. We are the sowers. You are the sowers of the wounds. And maybe you think, oh, I don't want to sow wounds. But you can, and you have the tools, and you have the ability, and you have the knowledge. Exactly as you are today in this moment, you have the ability to do spiritual triage on this world. You have everything you need. trust it. Walk into the headwaters. Look for the pain. Look at it. It's okay. It's not nearly as scary as what we create to try to avoid it. And that alone heals. And rehumanize. You know, that's what the path we're on. We're not dehumanizing. We're not interested in that. We're interested in rehumanizing, right? Bringing back the dignity, raising the awareness of common dignity and common divinity. When we divinize, if that's a word, I'm going to make it a word today, divinize, we behold the Christ and the truth in one another. We walk the path of that practice, remembering again and again. And where we need the people who have gone before, we can reach to them and their inspiration and their wisdom. Mother Teresa is one of those. Mother Teresa said, "Every day I see Jesus Christ in one of his distressful disguises." If you walk out into the world every day as you leave your home in the morning, maybe say something that allows you, or pray something, or know something, have some kind of ceremony that allows you to cross that threshold to say, I am moving toward the headwaters of the pain of the world to the source of love and healing. And I carry with me maybe the words of Mother Teresa. You can change the master teacher if Jesus Christ doesn't resonate for you. I myself love me some Jesus, so Jesus is just fine with me. Every day, I see Jesus Christ in all his distressing disguises, or whoever you want to guide you. What to do? What do I do? What do I do besides going to the headwaters of the pain and going to the headwaters of the source of healing and love? What do I do besides this rehumanizing and this ceremony? There's more. There's more we can do. We could practice generosity. Do you remember that acronym I showed you last week? It comes from the book, Brené's book, Braving the Wilderness. And the braving is for the elements of trust that we need to bring with us. And the G in braving is for generosity. Generosity meaning giving a generous, extending to others and to ourselves a generous interpretation of people's and ours intentions, actions, and words. You know, just giving that gift of generosity, to give people a little space, you know, give people a little space and ourselves a little space to make mistakes, to not do things exactly perfectly or as skillfully as maybe we wish to, but to know we're all doing the best we can. There was a waitress, and a man came in who had lots of bags, and he smelled, and he was taking up a lot of space, and he took up a whole booth, and it was a busy day for this waitress, and she was already feeling kind of irritated, and she was trying to do her job, and this man was asking her all these questions. He finally got the menu out, and he's looking at the menu, and he says, "How much is the breakfast special?" And she says, $7, sir. And he's fumbling around for his money, and he's taking all this time, and she's getting more and more irritating as she's watching customers come in. And he says, "How about a sandwich? How much is a sandwich?" She says, "Sir, it depends upon which sandwich. Look at the menu, and, you know, I'll come back and take your order, okay?" So she goes and she waits on some other people. She comes back around, and he says, "How much for the bacon and egg sandwich?" She's like, $4. And he looks at his money, and he looks at her, and he thinks for a minute, and he says, "How about the egg sandwich?" And she says, $3. And he says, "Yeah, okay, I'll take the egg sandwich." So she brings it. He takes a long time eating, which irritates her even further. She doesn't even go check on him again. She just waits on everybody else. Finally, she's thinking he's checking out, so he's leaving. So she's beginning to clean up his table, and she stops dead in her tracks, because on the table is a $1 tip. And she says to herself, "This man was making room for me. And I made no room for him. Not a shred of room in my heart for him. And he was calculating to make room for me." That's generosity. And so we never know who it is that is going to bring us the spiritual lesson of the day. But if we are open, we can receive it. And if we ourselves decide that we will be the bringer of generosity, well, all the more will we be blessed over and over again, because we know how that works. Dr. Michelle Buck is a professor of leadership at Northwestern University, and she talks about not conflict resolution, but conflict transformation. Because she says conflict resolution indicates that we're going back to some place of comfort that we had before, but conflict transformation says that we are creating something new, that we are having creative conversation to bring forth something new. And she says one of the keys to practicing this is to say, tell me more, and then listen. And so when, just at that point in a conversation when we're ready to turn away, or we want to end the conversation, or we're going to counter with something that we really want to get our opinion out there, she said that's the golden moment to say, tell me more, and then listen. This is one of the key ways. Tell me more, and then listen. And isn't that what we are moving out into the world to do? To listen, to say, tell me more, to go to that place of the headwaters of pain, to rehumanize, to raise up that line of human dignity so it merges with the truth of our divinity. That's what we're about. That's the walk. That's the path. That's our work this week. Let's close out with an affirmation. Together, I move closer to difference and listen with my heart. I walk the path of dignity and divinity. And so it is.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Kristen, for reminding us of the headwater of healing. It's been my experience that every time I faced that wall of pain, when I walked through it and turned around, it was a hedge that I could have walked over if I knew. But our prayer chaplains are available after the service to provide personal prayer support. They are wearing lavender stoles. Whether you have a joy or a concern on your heart today, praying with our prayer chaplains is a powerful opportunity to have your intentions raised up in consciousness. And now it's time for our prosperity celebration. Yeah, cool. All right. Let us now open our hearts and our consciousness of giving as we align with the universal law of circulation. As we give, so shall we receive. In truth, there is no lack or limitation. Abundance is our true nature. Can you repeat that with me? Abundance is our true nature. Hey, women. Let's get to the point where we don't laugh at that anymore, right? That it's just as normal to say a women as it is a men. All right, so that's our goal. The next year, let's do that. Hey, let's make a New Year's resolution. Never mind. So I invite you to take your tithe or offering in your hand and repeat together our affirmation. Together, divine love, one with me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful. And so it is.
We have a little modification of a lesser-known Moody Blues song here, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I've been thinking the way people do about the things that matter to me and you. I've decided to do all I can and to show the kind of soul I really am. I have seen world from here, and at times it's made me wanna disappear. But now I'm back to where I belong, and with just one truth I find you can't go wrong. Wherever you go, whatever you do, whatever you say, say it, say it, say it, say it with love. I remember a long time ago when a first fall of feeling put me in the flow. In that rapture I wanted to stay and to hear that voice within me every day. I have been around the world, saw the smiling faces and the joy unfurl. I was destined to sing come what may, and there's just one message that I've had to say. Wherever you go, whatever you do, whatever you say, say it, say it, say it with love. Underneath the fear and doubt, there's a soul within us crying, let me out. So in the end, we'd ever return, 'cause there's just one lesson that we came to learn. Wherever you go, whatever you do, whatever you say, say it, say it, say it with love. Underneath the fear and doubt, there's a soul within us crying, let me out. So when we go, we know we'll return, 'cause there's just one lesson that we came to learn. Wherever you go, whatever you do, whatever you say, say it, say it, say it. Say it with love. Say it with love. Say it with love. Say it with love. With love.
Let's bless our abundance, giving thanks for all that we are and all that we are about as we walk out these doors into the world, remembering that we walk to the headwaters of love together. And let's bless this together. We give thanks for the ever-increasing, unceasing flow of absolute good in our lives now. Amen. So it is. Let's bring our children forward.
Marching in the light of God. We are 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 marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching in the light of God. We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching in the light of God.
You guys want to share something? No? That you like?
What do you want to share? Monster Jam.
What are you guys going to share that we did today? Go Pala. Go Pala, dance, a little nervous. They're
Wow.
enjoying the journey.
Clearly. Let's bless our children and teachers together. Children, youth, and teachers, you are loved. I'm sorry. It's one of those days.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start over, shall we? Children, youth, and teachers, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divine light within you. So it is. I do want to remind everybody that classes are going on this week, and we're still open to drop-ins. We've had some fabulous classes and great turnout, so we want to invite you all to join the fun. And don't forget about the summit. John Shin will be there with his crystal bowls and friends with crystal bowls, and Jenny's meditations and chants. That's Wednesday night summit. So let's close out with our prayer of protection, followed by the peace song. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. The light and the love and the peace on earth right now. So let your light shine and have fun. See you soon. Happy retirement week, Richard.
Wherever you go, whatever you do, whatever you say, say it, say it, say it.
Hi.
Say it now.
Felicia, right over here, is my ministerial assistant, and if you
with love.